Oh, I forgot to go up here. Hey guys, whoa, what's happening? Well, Julius is in like really early. He said he forgot to. By the way, my name's Gundam Works, and you guys know me, Mikey Wine here, and we're live. And Julius is apologetic for missing last week's episode, so he decided to check in a full 40 minutes early almost. Welcome, Julius. And Nick is a close second right now. And Giovanni, close third right after that. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for joining. And this is part 15. Now this project's really getting up there in the chapter list, isn't it? So, hello everyone. Hello everyone. Hey, checking in. How's it going, guys? So yeah, I got I started the show last week. I showed the base, or at least the wood round that I was going to start using. And a friend of mine, you guys know him as Angel, also Crazy Hawk in here in the chat sometimes. He had a piece of this pink insulation foam. It's like a dense styrofoam almost. Giovanni says, I'm going to start with bad news. Sorry for my French. Oh, why? What's the bad news? Do I dare ask? Or is that the bad news for your French? Anyway, so I cut that out, and I cut that insulation out into the circle. I'm going to have to do some work with the Dremel, but apparently that makes a huge mess. So that's not something I'm going to be doing on camera. It's going to make a huge mess. So let me just go down to your RG Shin Matsunaga Zaku went. Oh no! Oh no! What happened? Do I dare ask what happened? Did it get dropped, or did it become a hand grenade? You threw it against the wall and destroyed it. Let me go down to bench here so you can see where we're at. So I cut this piece out. This is trying to move this and get it as far in frame as possible. I got some parts up here I don't want to lose. So I finished assembling the Rambarao Zaku head from the Rambarao set. This is also the same scale, 1/35 scale. But I did take some of the collar pieces off here because I'm going to disassemble this a little bit more, and I'll go into detail about that in a minute. But just kind of wanted to show what I'm doing, what I'm starting with here. So I'm going to embed the Zaku head somewhere into this base, so it looks like it's in the dirt a little bit. Giovanni says, let's see, this is the answer here. The lacquer reacted badly. Oh no. Good Lord. I've never had lacquer. Lacquer reacted badly with the inner frame. What happened to the inner frame? Did it just become so brittle that it fell apart? Are you sure that was lacquer, or was that maybe Panaline color, like Tamiya Panaline color? Because that can do the same thing. I had some issues with some of the wheels on the tank becoming very brittle because I had used too much Panaline, or had too much. It soaks in a little bit, and if you don't get it all out, then it can make the plastic brittle. So I'm just going to move this stuff away here. This is some of the terrain products that I'm going to be using later, and I will just get that stuff out of the way. So this piece was a little bit bigger than this. Fortunately, there was enough of it that I was able to actually get the full round in here. You can see if I lift this off, there's the round underneath. Angel's in here. Yo. We were just talking about you, Angel. Thanks for this foam piece. I got it cut out to the same size here. Now I can start shaping it. But again, I'm gonna do that off camera. I also did not put the glass lens in the Zaku head because I'm going to take it all back apart, but I've also got to damage that as well. So I want to be able to drill some holes in that, have a few bullet holes there. There's going to be quite a bit of damage to this, but I'm going to go get to the close-up here just a second. For the time being, I'm just trying to show what I'm trying to go for here. The tank will be somewhere in this vicinity. The Zaku head will be embedded in the dirt somewhere over here with crew members kind of milling around maybe in this area here. So that's the plan. We'll see how it evolves as it goes. I'm going to have to take this apart. I've got to do some pretty extensive damage to it. And I just, like I mentioned a second ago, I want to keep these pistons if I can. So I'm probably going to cut most of this base portion off just to keep those pistons kind of scattered around, looking like it just basically got ripped off and fell out. Because this whole base is supposed to sit down into this like little chest piece here. You really want to display it that way, but I'm not using it. That's kind of what I'm looking at. So it's kind of the gist of where things are going to go. In the meantime, I'm going to move the tank away. Most of the focus tonight is going to be on starting to take this apart and maybe coming up with some of the damage and starting to cut these cables, because I want to cut these cables off and do some other stuff to them. The whole hip section is melting. Oh my God, what happened, Giovanni? You get some weird combinations of chemicals there or something going on. That's crazy. Well, hopefully you can repair it. If not, if it's a total loss, I guess chalk it up to experience. I don't know what else to say. It's hard. It's hard to do. I'm sorry to hear that. So anyway, let me move the tank away here. I'm just going to put him in the middle. I'm going to take both these pieces off of the bench, and we're just going to work on the head a little bit tonight and do some damage to it. Maybe start planning how we're going to take that apart. All right, so let me go to the close-up here. We'll get a little closer look at the Zaku head. So there was this little neck portion that went around. It was way up here. You can see this hole. Oops, on this side of it, this hole in the center kind of fit right up and around all this stuff and like that. But again, I don't want the neck really there much. It just popped off. These pistons are going to be really what hopefully I can see once I place this in whatever position to sink it down. I want to be able to see a little bit of this, of the mechanics of this under here, because it is kind of cool. All these little linkages. If you look at, let's see if I can get it centered here. So you got those pistons and stuff. It's really kind of a nice, interesting setup underneath here. So if I can see some of this, that would be cool. Maybe not. These power cable sections here were kind of a pain. There was actually 40 pieces for this entire thing, both sides, 20 on each side, individual halves that went together, which creates a nice little panel line too along the edge, which will look nice when it's all painted up. But like I said, this is going to be, one side's going to be cut. At least one side's going to be cut of the cable. There's going to be some damage and wires and things coming out. I've also got some, let's see if I can find them. I didn't get these out before the show. Let me see if I've got them close by here. I have some springs that I have used from time to time, and I got them from the automotive industry. They look like little power cables. Where did I put them? I'm trying to think of where I put them. Got them here in one of these bins. Let's see it here. What did I do with them? No, that's just, I've also got some leftover poly tubing from some of the motorcycle kits that I've done over the years, and those will work well for exposed wires too. I know I've got these somewhere. Give me a sec here, boys and girls. Find these. I thought I had them out, but I put them in like a, I actually put them in like a Ziploc so they would stay together. But anyway, I'll find them here in a sec. But yeah, I'll have some of those sticking out. There'll be some smaller springs that will look like severed cables as well, which I think will be a nice little touch. I'm going to make an adjustment here because it seems like I'm working up at this end of the camera. So I'm going to actually move this. Let's see, get it, oh, wrong direction. Let's go here. And then we'll update that position. There we go. So anyhow, all right. So taking this apart, I'm going to cut some of this lower base section off. There's a little bit that I still want to keep together, like all this main linkage here that holds the neck together. This head piece will just pop right off. There are some decent details here. I may even go in and scribe some more panel lines. Might use one of those exceed heads for reference, because they're quite a bit more detailed as far as the armor on the outside. But depends on how much damage I'm going to do, because a lot of these pieces some of this stuff's going to be exposed. That's why I love the fact that they used an inner frame on this, because I can paint all this and really make it, whatever armor has been blasted away or whatever damaged, there'll be exposed areas, just kind of like this as well. There's some nice detail behind that. There's also the grill in front of the grill, a radiator or whatever in front of that. Now, some of this stuff isn't fitting quite together nicely because I didn't put the glass piece in. That kind of provides the separation for these side pieces to stay in place properly. Without the glass in there, they just kind of want to flop in. They don't quite line up. Because on top of that, when you put this top piece back on, you have these, let's see, is this the right one? Yeah, I think so. These are supposed to come in on the side here. I mean, it's not fitting together because I don't have it lined up properly, but basically these have to go in. Whoops. These have to go in this area here and finish off the side of the head. But again, these side pieces are folded in because the glass is not in there to hold them in the right position. So, what's up, Julius? Let's see, since you have an LED in the tank, you could add a sparking LED in the Zaku head. I did think about that. I have some flicker LEDs already in my stash, which randomly kind of flicker almost like a candlelight. For this, I used to use those. In fact, my first big diorama that I did for not the SCGMC, but GBWC, I added some of those for in the lighting in the buildings to make the buildings look like they were, the fluorescent lighting was kind of flickering and in and out. And so, yeah, I did think about that. I thought about maybe popping one in behind the eye here. So we'll see. We'll see if I do that. I'm not sure because it is going to be severed basically from the Zaku and just the head is there, but there might be some residual power. I mean, I guess we could do whatever we want to do, right? But a great idea, Julius. I had considered that already. So again, some other nice pieces. A lot of nice detail here in the frame underneath all this stuff. So I've got to figure out how far back I want to cut these, because at least one of these cables will be severed with exposed internals, damaged wiring, things like that. So yeah, this is all stuff I've got to kind of figure out. I've also got to figure out where to cut this off, because I'm basically going to take this whole bottom section here and remove it. I need to keep some of it together because it kind of holds all these pistons in place. So I can't just take the whole piece out, because then everything would be flopping around. There'd be nothing to kind of hold it. So I've got to figure out how much of this I can cut off and still use it. There was also like this power cable kind of sits back here. I took it off. I may put that back on later. I just took it off for now because I was trying to figure out where to cut this, because there's one more piece that kind of mounts to the base, but I'm going to be removing this base. See, this little piece here is what holds the bottom of this. It kind of looks like a cable, like almost like a, what do they call those ribbon type cables. Excuse me. They can see it like a computer or something. What's up, Handren? Have you decided the general idea of the diorama? Yes, you just missed it a minute ago. But I can bring it back over real quick just to kind of show you the base. I got a piece of this insulation foam. So let me go back to this real quick. Oh, yeah. No, I'm sorry. You did say hi. Oh, there it is. Sorry, bud. I was doing a lot of talking and not a lot of looking. I missed it, Hendron. I appreciate it. How you doing, bud? So let me go back to this view. So the tank will be kind of in this position. I think I might have the turret turn this way because there will be one figure here. The head is going to be somewhere over here embedded in the dirt. I'm not sure which side. I might, because I think this might be the front view, where the viewing angle of whatever, when I display this. So I want to have these pistons and stuff exposed if I can. So I may sink it in this way. I might flip it, but I think to do that, I may even have it turned facing, maybe it'll be facing the crew, because there's going to be some crew kind of milling about. I'm going to have the commander in the seat here. One guy's going to be back here. One will be on the ground, I think, looking at this thing. So something like that. Titled? I don't know yet. Or tilted? Is that what you said? Yeah, tilted. Yeah. I'm thinking sunk down, one side kind of embedded in the dirt, whereas this side will be, the cable's severed and some other damage going on. I have to figure out how to. I've got some extra pieces of this pink foam that I can build up and maybe help, embed this into the surface a little bit. But yeah, I've just rough cut the size of this round off, and then I'm going to take my Dremel on the advice of Angel and take it to the garage or something and do it outside, because once I take a Dremel with this, it's going to be dust everywhere, and I'll make a huge ass mess in here. So anyway, that's the basic idea. I think I'm sure it will evolve a little bit over time as we keep moving forward with this. But now I'm just trying to figure out to what extent do I want to, how much of this do I want to leave attached? I got to cut a good chunk of this bottom base off without destroying the integrity of the. Let's go back to close up here. Without, I want to make sure some of these pistons can remain intact. But yeah, I do like the amount of, the framework on this for a hard graft kit. It really does look nice underneath. So I can do some holes or damage in the armor, or even remove pieces, and still see a nice amount, some good greebles and things underneath it. Nothing is glued together, so everything's kind of fitting a little sloppy. Once I do the final attachment on most of this stuff, it'll line up better. Some of the panels just aren't lining up because I don't have the glass piece in there. I skipped a couple of steps when I was doing this, so. Or perhaps scratch the ground and dig it in. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about doing too, because that foam's about an inch thick. So I could dig a portion of that out and sink this down in there. I kind of want it to look like it landed in, and embedded in the dirt, just by under its own weight. So that's kind of what I want it to look like. It just depends on how we get to that point. We'll see what happens there. I don't know if I have to build it up as much as, like you're saying, like dig out that foam and then sink this down in there, because again, I've got these this desert sand stuff here. I've used this already, and this is oh gosh, it's really thick right now. I'm gonna have to see if this has got I might have to try to thin this out. Oh boy, yeah, it's real thick. So I'm gonna have to see if I can thin this out with. You can see this. This is really thick. It's not supposed to be this thick, but I opened this quite a while ago, and I'm gonna see what I can put in here. I think it's just a water based, so I should be able to to thin it out with water. If not, I may have to buy some more of this. It's an acrylic. And I think I cleaned it up with water, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, that's something I'll have to sort out as well. I didn't open the other one, the textured one that I have. I didn't open that yet. So I want that to stay tight. Okay, it does say diluted with water or an acrylic thinner to improve its flow. So I'm going to try loosening that stuff up. It's not completely dried out, so I should be okay by just adding some water to this. Because the layer, this above it is pretty hard here on the edge, but everything in here is still pretty soft. It's not sticking to my stir stick. It's more like silly putty texture almost right now, or not silly putty, almost like a, what am I trying to think of, like a soft clay or something. So we'll see if we can rejuvenate that. I may try to find an acrylic thinner. So do I have any of that? I might have some Tamiya. That's a lacquer thinner. I do have some Tamiya, but it's a lacquer thinner. I wonder if I find any X20, like the old acrylic paint thinner. But I don't know. I'll try a small bit with some water first and see what happens. But again, that's going to be NVM. It's acrylic. Lacquer to thin it. I don't know. I'm sure lacquer would work. It did say it does say thin acrylic product with texture, blah, 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 blah. Did I read that? I guess it was there, but it did say close well to preserve longer. Yeah, well, I evidently didn't close it well enough. I had it pretty tight. An acrylic thinner or water can be diluted. So I'll try a little bit of water first and see. Oh, never mind. It's acrylic, yeah. Yeah, so I'm going to have to use water or an acrylic thinner. Water is obviously easier to come by. So in the meantime, let's start kind of dismantling this a little bit. Just to kind of figure out how far back cut this. Now this top piece should pop up. Okay. So these kind of just slot in. So I think what I'll do is if I do embed it this way, with the tank being over here, so this side will be, let's probably leave this side attached. Again, these are all individual pieces. There were 40 of these cable sections. This is the one I want to cut. So I'm also going to have to bend it, which will be easy to do once I figure out how far back to cut it. I think I'm going to go maybe 4 sections, like right about here. Julius says, Zaku head has much better detail than the Exceed heads. Well, actually, the Exceed heads, I think, have quite a bit more, especially if you look at the top of the heads. Let me go grab one of those real quick. One of those pistons just fell off. Nothing is glued, you know, those kind of things come apart easily. So let's I'll just bring the same one I had earlier. Yeah, or last week we were looking, I was using this as reference, and you can also see now with these assembled just how much bigger this one is. I'm knocking everything off the table. So when this is on, let's get on there. I'm just nothing's lining up because it's all kind of in pieces. But so if you look at the size difference here, quite a bit smaller. But these also have nice panel lines going across the top of the head, whereas this guy is just chrome dome. There are some what looks like almost like snow gutters here on the top of it to keep material away from the sensor. But the idea of putting an LED in there, that's one you can buy for the Exceed head. Can't remember where I got that one. I think one of my friends gave it to me. But anyway, I may put some panel lining in here. I may use that as reference and do some additional panel lines. It's a little bit tricky on a curved surface, but we'll see what happens. So getting back to this, I think I'm going to cut this right about in this fourth section. Yeah, the Exceed head has more, exactly. That hard graph is an older kit compared to the Exceed heads. Yep, that's true. That is true. But for a hard graph, it's still pretty darn good. It's nice looking. And it has the frame, whereas like these are just kind of generic looking internals. I mean, yeah, you could go back and paint all this, I suppose, but I really do like the way the frame looks on the hard graph. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate these cable sections here. I'm going to leave the other ones on. These are left and right. So if I do when I take these off to paint them, I make sure I'm going to put them in separate baggies. So you see how this kind of goes together. It's pretty basic, but I like the way they designed each section, where they have these teeth. These teeth that kind of overlap. My fingers are slippery today. So as these go together, you can see how those teeth, overlap, and there's a nice detail on there. So each section will look pretty good. So I think what I'll do, I'm going to take off at least 4 of these, because I'm probably going to separate the 5th one too, because that's where I'm going to have to cut it and then install this back together. So let me get this lower section off. There we go. Now, yeah, I want that exposed. So these sections in the middle, they're all the same. The end pieces are different and left and right, but from here to here, all identical part numbers. So right here is where I want the piece cut. I want exposed wires and things. So what I'm going to do is cut this right where. All right, if you look, this little T section here, this is where those grab on. That cable section comes out to about the middle of this little ball. So if I cut this right here, that'll give me a nice flat base to glue my wires and everything, that all the cables that are going to be coming out of that, the exposed wires and stuff. So I guess here goes nothing. We're just going to cut this right here, right up against it. There we go. All right. Now I still might need part of this, because of these other sections that are on the ground. There's going to be a piece of this, and there might be another section of cable ahead of that. So I may end up cutting it again. What's up, Dwayne? How you doing, bud? The head looks great. Nice internal greebles. Yeah, you're right. That's what I was just saying earlier. I really like the frame on this. So even if I do remove some of these pieces or have them damaged with holes, seeing through, you're still going to see some really nice detail work underneath, which is cool. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and sand this piece here just to make it nice and flat. Now that I've cut that, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to remove this whole thing. this pops off and then comes out the back. So, yeah, I think I can use really God hands just to kind of clean up this edge a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and once I sand this, I'm going to go ahead and put that piece back on that section so we can see kind of what that looks like. So that's the top piece. So this goes here. And then we need one of these here. Okay. All right, so now I have this open section here, which I can use to mount all of my, I can even drill some holes. I can drill a hole down the middle of that piece that I cut off because you can actually see the exposed hole there down the middle. I can drill that out and have some of those wires coming out. I really wish I had planned ahead a little bit better. I know I've got these springs around here. Let's see if I can find them. Got all the extra seed head parts. Somewhere I have a bag. You know what? I think they might be. Might be over here. I'm going to find these springs tonight. I'll show you before this night is over. Just, I know I organize them. It's one of those things you're like, I'm going to put them in this bag so I don't lose them, right? And then, now I can't remember where I put the bag. Right here, no, that's wire. I had like an actual Ziploc, a little tiny Ziploc with a bunch of these little mini springs in it, so they work well as energy cables. And gosh, I just wish I found them right now. They're around here somewhere. Not there. Oh well. I've got to dig through some of these bins and find them. I don't know where the heck they are. Yeah, I don't have enough. It's so funny because I know I put them in places. Said here, well, put it here so we don't lose them. And now I can't find them. So Giovanni says, as a truck driver, we say keep on trucking. As a modeler, we say keep on modeling. Just finished spraying surfacer on the HG Bolinock. How do you say that? Is it Bolinock? Suman or Simon? Bolinock Sam. I spent hours scribing that kit. Yeah, I can imagine. You sprayed primer on the truck? No, I think you meant the model kit. Gosh darn it. I'm really upset that I've moved these things so I wouldn't lose them, right? And now I can't find them. And I could have sworn they were in one of my bins right alongside my bench here. And now I can't find them. And he did that on the truck. Yeah. Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, while he was in the truck. It's very quite possibly true. When you're on the road, do what you got to do. Let's see, I don't think they're in here. Got these big supply bins with massive amounts of sanding sticks, and I thought that I had these springs somewhere close by, and now I can't find them. I'm not going to make this any more boring. If I can't find them in the next minute or so, we're just going to keep moving forward here. Gosh darn it. It'll turn up right after the broadcast, right? I'm sure. Yeah. All right. Well, just going to have to keep going. Okay, so now that I've cut that cable, I've got a nice round, fairly flat surface here that I can maybe drill out. Like, let's see here, probably use this guy. There's already kind of a hole molded from the molding process of this, the internal structure of this cable. So if I just go down the center of that a little bit, drill bit here. All right, so there. Now I've got a hole down the center. So now I can pretty much stuff anything I want in here and just drill as many holes as I want to in these other pieces, just to give me some of that structural support for those wires and things. I'm going to use some. I'll just strip some regular speaker wire. That will work. Let's see. There's my speaker wire. So what I'll do is I can take a piece of this. This is just regular old speaker wire. And oops. Screw that all up. So what I'll do is just separate the two pieces, two wires. This is solid core 24 gauge twin conductor. So then just by doing that, I have two decent sized wires that I can just cut a piece off here. Now this is obviously too much. We're not going to have this much sticking out, but you get the idea. I can drill a few holes in there and have a few of these naked wires coming out. We'll obviously paint this, but we can add a spring. I've got springs that would slide over this. That way we can use the wire to mold it and hold its shape. There's different ways to make this kind of severed cable look a little more interesting. So just cut another piece off, and let me just quickly, I'll drill another secondary hole. I'm going to start with a small bit that's like a pilot here, so that I don't really have any, there's no real rhyme or reason to where these holes need to be. It's just a matter of packing this area with a nice, collection of wires and things to make it look like, where'd that piece of wire go? There it is. Okay, so now with that second hole, and stick this in. Just an idea. There we go. Just something like that. Now this piece, I'm not going to make this long. I just shoved it in there, but so yeah, it's kind of the idea, just to make some general wiring. I need to find those springs though. I know they're around here somewhere. Probably staring right at them. Ooh, I've even got rivets too. I just realized I could do some rivet work on this on the Zaku head. I've got a bunch of these wave packs. These are round rivets here. Then we've got actual, look like nut and bolt type rivets. Several different sizes. Could use some of those. Add some extra external detail to the head. Zaku head. I'm really bummed about that. Those springs, I know I have them there. I was making dinner earlier and stuff, doing some other, so I didn't have a lot of time to get up here and get ready for the show. I just had flipped on the laptop and started working, getting ready, and didn't have all my materials, so I'm kind of stumbling around here, and I'm sorry for that. But anyway. Finished, Giovanni says, finished the MG Millennium Falcon. Oh, the HG Millennium Falcon. Nice. It's super clean. So this is the story. I'm going with it. Took her in for service. Get a free spaceship wash. Nice. Well, inside the truck on the road. I don't know. Is he? Are you on the road modeling in the truck? That'd be cool if you were. So that is the idea I have for, and I will pack this area with that circle. I'll put quite a few strands of different cables and different colors and things to make it look, try to make it look as realistic as possible as a severed cable. Now that I have this piece, this is the additional that's going to go up to the front of the head here. Of the nose. This goes on here. This is that little detailed piece that goes on the outside. Let's try to see this thing. I tell you need to go. Even though this is snap together, it really does help to use glue. But I didn't want to glue anything together until I knew I was doing final assembly. All right, so there we go. So when this goes back on. Slides in like so. There is two pins on this internal frame that have to line up. Oh, it goes through there. Okay. It's not quite. There we go. It goes fully in. You have to make sure those are lined up, or this piece will not fully seat. Okay, so this one again will be attached. This one will come down and be dangling alongside, because there's nothing to support it, so it's going to be hanging down further on the side with all the damaged pieces. And then I'll have the remainder I might only have one section of this attached here on the nose, and then the rest of this will be several sections just by themselves, laying on. I might have a whole section just laying by itself, so I'll have maybe two separate sections, cut here and a cut right after this mounts in the nose. I think that's a great idea. Giovanni says, no, I'm at home. Tried building kits when I'm working, but it was kind of difficult, You have a little toolbox. Yeah, I do too. I've got this. This was a case that a Leatherman came in. And it's kind of a mess of different tools right now. But when I travel, if I'm going to a build gathering or something like that, I'll put all my tools in this little guy and then take that with me. It makes it nice and easy to transport that kind of stuff. All right, so I kind of like the way this is going. I lost a piston on the side here. No big deals. Let's make sure those parts stay together. That's supposed to go up here. So I guess what I can do, since we're talking about it, I'm going to take this back apart and figure out how much of this base to cut off here. So we just start taking some of this armor off. And you see all these internals. It's really, really quite nice. So I may end up, cutting these a certain way. There might be a section of this armor blown off. I'm not sure yet. This piece was glued on here. It kind of fits on there. And then there's actually another plug that goes up from the outside or the inside, or so you got the outside in, connects all these together. So that will be something to think about, whether I need to leave that section attached, because that attaches to this tab here. And then there's even another one back here. If we pull the back section off, there's two more of those tabs here and here. And there's little tiny square pieces that actually go through the outer armor into here. But this whole internal frame is actually very, very detailed. A lot of potential here. Like, are you watching that new Gundam anime I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Quacks? Quacks? No, I have not heard of it, actually. I'll be quite honest. I am really, what's the term I'm looking for? I am really not very educated on all the Gundam series, if I'm being honest. I like building cool models, but I never sat down and actually watched a lot of the anime, so I'm probably missing out on quite a bit. And as far as the lore and the history, not a lot of background there. Now, I know quite a bit more about Macross probably than I do Gundam, but I'm starting to see these. They don't need to be glued, but if you don't glue them, they really stay. So I've got these. It's very interesting. A different take on the UC era. Right, that's cool. Sounds cool. Giovanni says I'll send you pics of everything. Okay, very cool. Appreciate that. Again, I really apologize if I missed somebody's comment. I'm trying to keep an eye on it on the chat. So looking at this now that I've got all the armor off, and you kind of see how this whole section pivots around. I like the way this moves, and that's why I wanted to kind of display some of this if I could. I want to sink it down into the dirt, but I want to be able to see some of these, even if they're just laying there, not attached. I want those pistons exposed. But there's this linkage section right here, this circle, and this is what holds everything together. So if I cut this blue section off, which is what I want to do, I'm going to have to probably cut it right above this round section here, like right below this. That way I can there'll still be the structure that holds all this together, but the pistons will be floating kind of freely beyond that. So I think that's what I'm going to do, because I can't think of really being able to. There's so much distance here, and that foam is only so thick. I'd have to build it up in order to sink this down in there even further. So I may have to just, by cutting some of this off, it'll give me a little bit less that I have, because if you push this all the way down, get it down close to the body, so you kind of see it once you smash everything down, it's not quite as high. So if I cut this here, that's a lot less than I got to worry about sinking down into the floor of the diorama. So I think what I'm going to do is, in order to take this, I'm trying to, without pulling out the booklet again, I'm trying to figure out how I can. All right, it's the tall pistons, the long one's going front. I'm just going to start popping this stuff off, and try not to break it. That was not broken, by the way. That just popped off. Thought I broke it. Thought I might have, but didn't. carefully separate this piston. There we go. All right, so you see this little rocker section here. I think I'm gonna have to cut it right here, so this whole T section will stay intact. Let's try to separate this real quick. This is just my opinion. Don't watch it. It's a waste of time. Is that a joke, or are you being serious, Giovanni? Actually, that's what I thought. Let's start watching it. Kind of like it. So it's a good time waster then. Is that what you're saying? It's not necessarily a bad thing. These stayed on there a lot harder than the other piston did. Well, the other side came off a lot easier than these did. See if we can get this side off now. Now, if I'm not mistaken, these are the same. These two pistons. These two like T sections here. I should have just done that. That was a lot easier. Okay, so I got those off and I got this up. Now we're kind of getting down to the nitty gritty here. So now I've just got these two main struts here, kind of hold this whole thing together. So I think I can get away with. I might be able to just pry this out and separate. That goes in. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so there we go. Now I can get this. All right, so I'm going to leave these in. I've just got this section. Now you see, I need these two pins and this whole kind of support right here. So if I cut this right above this piece, that should work. They're actually trying to explain what happened to Char and Amura. Gotcha. Being serious. They send in a pilot with the weapon systems not active. They're wondering if the pilot is coming back alive. Oh no. When the pilot realized that the weapon system is not working, he's wondering if he was what he's doing inside the machine. Oh boy. Oh, I figured it's a new time and you can activate it, huh? Yeah, see, that's one of the things I never paid attention to enough to understand all that new type jargon. All right, so in order to keep this in one piece, now this supposedly swivels, but it really doesn't do much at all. I think it's just a straight square. So I'm going to get my little saw out here. I'm going to see if I can cut through that. At least I think I know where my saw is. Yeah, got that part. Thank God. All right. So I got my little miter box here, which I don't need the box. I'm just going to use the actual saw blade. I can use this straight line right here as my guide, just to cut straight through. And again, here goes nothing. No going back down, boys. Wow, this saw blade's nice and sharp. That was easy. The second cut wasn't as clean as the first, but okay, now I can get rid of that because I just have this section. This is what kind of held all those pieces together. Get that off the screen there. Let's say I'm not a 5-star general, but if the mechanic is saying that hopefully the weapon system are coming back online, I might hold off sending a pilot into an active battlefield. Very true. Maybe they just forgot how to create some drama or something. I don't know. All right, so we don't need that anymore for now. We'll put that aside. So this will eventually go back in here like so, in between these two pieces, and then all those pistons will reattach. So I guess for the time being, I can try to figure out what to do here. I'm going to have to take this all back because I've got to, if I'm going to put a light in here, I guess I can demo what those LEDs do, those flicker LEDs that I was talking about. So let me grab one of those real quick. Let's see, where are my LEDs? I have boxes. No? Okay. So these typically run on, most of them run on 3 volts, so I should be fine with just a regular battery. So this is a flicker amber. This will work for our demonstration purposes. I have, actually, let me do a flicker red. Here's a flicker red, which would be more appropriate for this type of Zaku, right? I may even have paint color. Now these are 3mm LEDs. I got a ton of these too. Basically, you power them up and then they start to flicker. Can you see that? It's kind of pulsing. Turn the light off and turn this overhead off, you can get a better idea. And there's no other electronics required. It's just built into the LED. I will have to put a resistor on this because obviously 3 volts is a little too much for a red LED, but it just randomly flickers. So I think if I am going to light this up, I would use one of these because it's real simple. There's no Arduino board. There's no programming involved. It's all in the circuit board in the LED, and it looks just like a standard 3mm bulb. Like you'd find. You can see 2 leads. This is what I used. I used an amber one as a porch light on one of the loading docks on my diorama. Then I had some larger 5mm white flicker lights that looked like fluorescent lighting inside the buildings that were flickering. And yeah, so those are all things I thought about. And just one of the guys here, I think it was a Giovanni maybe, brought it, or somebody who brought it up. Somebody brought up an LED using an LED lighting up this eye. So it'd be easy to drill out the back of this, just make it a little bit larger for an LED. We'll keep that out for later use, because I think they'll probably end up doing that if I can figure out somehow to supply power to it on the kit as well. I may have to do some modification to the bottom of the base, but we'll figure that out later. All right. So, where are we at now? Got Stanley Cup Finals going on right now. So everybody's a hockey fan. If anybody's watching that, I don't know, but Game 1 tonight. It's on right now, actually. So there's kind of a wonky way that this eye sits in here, because a piece comes from the back, it's really hard to kind of get in there with just your fingers. You almost have to use a pair of tweezers. And then this piece sticks to the front of it, and that's what's supposed to sandwich it in between the actual slot that goes back and forth. Mike, you got to understand, if canon, if Zaku head is cut off, there would be no more going to it. That's what I was. That's why I wasn't sure if I was going to put a light in the generators from the torso. Hey, Brian, what's up, dude? Just got out of a meeting. How's it going, y'all? Let's go Rangers. Well, Rangers aren't in the playoffs anymore, so sorry, Bubba. It's the final now. Oilers and it's a rematch of last year. Oilers and the Florida Panthers. The same two teams that were in the final last year. So, yeah, to your point, Handren, yeah, I know, to spoil the idea of putting a line in, yeah, I know if it's severed, I get it. There wouldn't be any power to it. Unless, of course, it's just like sparking, but the light wouldn't be lit up. So, believe me, I have thought about that too. I was like, well, should I do it? Yeah, it'd be kind of a nice gimmick, but at the same time, is it realistic? Not necessarily. So now that we've got this lower section kind of sorted as far as how this is going to go together, I got to clean up this whole bottom area, because now you can see this. When I cut that off, when this was on here, you couldn't see it because it's covered up, but now this whole bottom section is going to be wide open, so I'm going to have to finish off that with a piece of plastic. I'll just take some plastic out, some plastic sheet that I've got, and draw a template, cut it out, and glue it on there. That should take care of that nicely. Seal all that up. So if any of that is exposed when it's on the base, it won't look like a hollow piece of plastic. That's the last thing I want. I may even have to fill up these pipes that are underneath here, because they're just hollow from the bottom side. Anyway, so yeah, moving steadily along here. Now we've got the tank pretty much done. I also will need to cut out the glass section pretty good. This is one of the scary things, because you want to make it look nice, but at the same time, it's you cut the plastic and you start drilling holes in a clear piece, it can go sideways real quick. We've also got the lens here as well for the eye. I don't need to cut that out just yet, but I want to make this look damaged, but I don't want it to look too bad. Sometimes it's hard to cut clear plastic up and make it look like broken glass. It's not the easiest to work with. Right, so that's cleaned up enough for now. When this goes on, because I was having difficulty getting some of these armor pieces to line up, because this glass piece kind of holds everything at the proper distance, but it fits on there pretty nicely. I mean, it's just like a motorcycle helmet almost. I would sketch out the whole idea on paper. Yeah, that's true. I thought about that too. It's funny, you and I think a lot alike, because I did think about just drawing it out and let's see, no Rangers. How can you call it hockey? Right? I know my Kings were blown out in the first round. I don't care. I really don't care who wins, but I want to see Connor McDavid cry like a little bitch again. So I want Florida to win again, so he can sit there and squeal like a little bitch, the bitch that he is. Let's see. Julia says, well, maybe there's a backup battery or something in the head to power the camera if main generator goes offline. Just saying. That's the thing. It would look nice with a flickering light. Yeah. For purposes of of displaying, yeah, always go there. And then Hendon says you can sketch it out. That's what we ever talked about that. Heck yeah. Throw in a potentiometer in there, make it twitch. I'll make the eye move back and forth. Yeah, we do that too. I saw somebody do that with this very kit. Actually, I think he won SCGMC one year with it. And it was just randomly moving back and forth. It was like they had a head in the test bay and they were testing it. Potentiometer, huh? Now you're getting crazy. I'm trying to finish this project, not make it more complicated and keep it going. Especially Giovanni's gonna be like, when are you gonna get to my commission? When I'm done with this, just tell everybody to stop. All right, so the glass in there, these side pieces should fit quite a bit better. I was having trouble getting them to line up. They were sinking in too far because that glass piece wasn't in the way. All right. Yeah, that really does help. I can see already why it's important to have that in there. I didn't install it because I didn't want to. I knew I was going to be taking it back apart. But when you put all that together, this should really line up nicely in the back. See if I can get this to go in. There we go. Yeah, see, now they're all lining up. Before, these panels wouldn't even line up. Because this, like I said, the sides were just folding inward because they didn't have the glass there. That should go right on top. Much better. Much better alignment. All right. Yeah, so if the head is laying on this side, I think we're going to have our bullet damage, obviously, on which would be the right side of the head. That will also be covered up. This is supposed to go. I'm going to make sure that nub mark doesn't show with this on there, and it does. Gosh, what a horrible place to put a nub mark. Look at that, dead center. See that right on the glass, right down that channel? That's where that nub mark sits. So we're gonna have to sand that, make sure it's gone. Yeah, the glass definitely helps with this alignment for the most part. This is still a little bit wonky. I also wanted to show you what these look like when they're when these pieces line up properly. These fit together. I'm having trouble now getting it in there. There, just like that. So yeah, it really fits nicely when everything's installed correctly. So on this side, where the damaged side will be, I may end up taking a little bit of a chunk out of this one here, where the damage will be. I might end up putting some scorch marks or something on there from damage. Let's see. I gotta catch up here. Sorry, guys. Potentiometer saw that. This one here we go. Okay. There's freedom of doing the hell you want. Not worrying about looking a bit realistic or option of giving realistic. All depends on the artist's view. Very true. Very true. And Brian says, I'm not here to help you finish. You're an idea guy. That's true. And Giovanni's saying, don't worry, you're not in a hurry. Well, I did ask you that. You remember that was one of the first questions I had is, do you have a deadline? Because anytime I do a commission work, the first question I ask is, do you have a deadline? And because if you do, forget it. I don't do deadlines. Put myself to that when I was trying to get finished for the old to gold contest, because that was the first time I'd actually done anything under pressure like that to finish in a certain time. That was kind of difficult, but I don't like doing deadlines because sometimes, life gets in the way. Sometimes things happen. This is, at the end of the day, this is a hobby. And if it becomes more, too much like a job, or, I got to make sure that I do this in my free time. And I always dedicate myself to finishing a commission in a good, timely manner, but I don't like putting myself under the pressure of it, because you never know when something might come up. Things happen, you get delayed, or you got to fix something or whatever. So it's just easier knowing you can, and I'll do my best work when I'm not rushing. You know what I mean? Julia says, "What's up, Brian? Is the head off due to the tank's cannon or due to beam saber?" I haven't sorted that out. I was thinking more of tank damage, because I am going to put some holes in this, and I also have that white, the black, and the soot and the white pigment that looks like ash. So I want to, wherever the holes are in the armor, not necessarily the glass, but wherever holes are in the armor, I want to look like it burned from the inside out. So there's going to be quite a bit of some texture going on there with the pigments. But I think, to answer your question, I think it's going to be more tank damage, blast damage versus saber, because then I would really have to focus on where the cuts would be. And I think it's easier for the project anyway too, but also to fit in with the tank, to look like it's been blown off, have the pistons, on these neck pistons kind of scattered, and the damage looking like blast damage versus saber cuts. I think that's need several rounds of cannon to take the head off. Yeah, that's true. But then if I was using this chest piece, I could do some of that damage there, because this is supposed to sit kind of like that. But again, I took that base piece off. This would have sat right here, which kind of goes down into that base. And then there's even these other two collar pieces. These are supposed to go around here like this and hide even more of that. But I don't want to. I wanted to kind of expose that, because I like those pistons and stuff. So I wanted to see all that. So that's why I took those parts off. I just assumed those are still on the torso. But yeah, I get your point. It would take several hits, so there will be some extensive damage to the glass, to at least one side of the head, and then under here as well, where I can do a lot of weathering to make this look burned. Not necessarily even, I don't even have to physically damage the parts. Just with enough of the right type of weathering can make it look like it's damaged for sure. All right, let's see what this video. Let's see what that's the commercial. We're gonna check the game score, see what's going on. Hopefully I can bring back this desert sand, because that's a good product, and I've got more than half of it here, and I'm really hoping that it will come back with some water. Start out small, just add a little bit, see what happens when I stir it up, see how it reacts. If it starts to go in the right direction, I'll add more, because I don't think I have any actual acrylic thinner, unless I can find some. I might have some Tamita paint thinner, but I don't know if that's really considered acrylic thinner, even though their paints are acrylic, but their paints are lacquer acrylics. I don't know if I have any. I know I've got one Tamita lacquer thinner, but actually, here we go. I do have some X20. Oh, that's for okay. This might work then. I'm going to look this up. So I have one bottle of the lacquer thinner, but I also have this X20A, which says 4 acrylic paints. So I guess it's worth a try. I would rather use this than water, considering this is more chemically closer to the actual product than water is, I think. I don't know. Maybe I'm speaking gibberish, but use a well-ventilated area. Why you're so boring? Carefully before allowing one and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, we're going to try that first. I'll use this a small I don't even use this anymore. I used to use Tamiya paints religiously before I started getting into Mr. Color stuff. So that's why I have that. And then I got some lacquer thinner along the way from various friends and stuff that were getting rid of their stuff. And so let's see. Hendra says, as an onlooker, I believe anyone viewing a piece like that would have those questions pop up in their head. Yeah, it depends on how crazy you want to be. Like these rivet counters. I mean, that's one thing. It's an art piece. I don't know. I get you. I hear you. Believe me. I understand what you're saying. It's just, how crazy do you want to get? Do you want to get somebody that's going to really question every single aspect of it? I don't know. At the end of the day, it's a diorama. I'll try to make it as realistic as possible, but we're talking about fantasy anyway, so its very nature is fantasy. It's a cartoon. It's anime. You ever got around to finishing up that MG Zaku Warrior from a while back? Yeah, what about that, Brian? I don't even know if I've seen anything. You know who I did see pop up on our radar the other day? I saw a few posts from our one and only child of Mecca, Tim Harkins, who changed his profile picture and posted a picture of his new cabinet. So maybe he's getting close to coming back around and resurfacing. It's been a few years. I'm hoping he does get back. We miss him. Two-time U.S. GBWC champion. So yeah, worth a view. If you don't know who he is, go check out Child of Mecca on all the various platforms. I think you can find him pretty much, maybe even on YouTube, as far as his videos. If not, he's on Facebook and Instagram. You can find him there. So I think I'm running out of steam here, trying to figure out what I can do next. So let me grab the tank again. Let's see if I'm going to slide some of this over. It's going to be a little bit harder to see, but I'll go back to this view here. Bring this back over. Oh, it's 3-2 in the third period. Florida's up. Yeah, when this game started, it was like Edmonton scored in like the first 2 minutes, and it was just like, oh man, they're just going to smoke them. Well, guess who's in the lead now? Oh, damn it. I just really jacked up my antenna there. Gotta spin that back around. I'm trying to fix one of my tank antennas here. I went to reach across and bent it over. Okay, so I'll slide this up as far as I can go here. So, all right. I think that's still. Looks like it's still intact. Okay. So, let's see this. This will go back here like so. So this is going to kind of sunk in like that. This will be dangled downward. Kind of like the way that looks already, just by placing it on there. So I want the tank. I'm going to have the angle this way because again, I'll have the commander here, and there'll be a crew in the basket back here. So I'm going to slide this a little bit further forward. So I'm going to have one guy hanging out back here, commander in the seat, and then somebody on the ground. So if I have this tilted, and this kind of sunk in, I'm going to dig this out. I can sink this down in there. Maybe even have those pistons exposed on the underside here. Some various debris pieces strewn about from where this thing hit the ground. And then this cable will be down on the ground with another section here dangling off the nose. So I've got what's left of this here. I'm going to have a piece of that rotated down, dangling there. So there'll be this will be majority where that damage sits. What am I missing here? I'm trying to read the comments here. Let's see. Brian, and then we got this one here. If that's the case, then I wouldn't worry about how weathering would look. Just wing it. Oh, no. I'm going to try to make the weathering look realistic. I mean, the tank came out quite a bit darker than I expected initially when I went into it. I mean, it really looks dark, especially against this pink background. It looks very, very dark. It's not quite as dark in person. It's just I think the camera is really enhancing the colors. But I'm going to make the weathering look as real as possible, realistic, especially the burn and the scorch marks. That's what I want. I did that, and I like that white pigment. It's like it looks like white ash. So I looked at actual tanks and stuff that were burned from the outside when they take a round. Yes, it's got giant black angel wings. Very on brand. Nice. That's nice. All right, so anyway, this is looking very good in my opinion. I think I'm enjoying this part of the process. This will be, once I find some of those springs and I can actually make this severed cable look more like a severed cable, then we'll be able to move forward and start drilling some holes in the glass and making some damage. But I think I'm going to focus most of it around where that support section comes down. I think I like having a little bit of damage to it, but still intact, having maybe the hole right in front of it, and then of course inside as well, and then maybe even an exit on the back side. I could have an entrance on this side and an exit on the back, where you have that blowout and those scorch marks and stuff. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me look back and check it out. Yeah, check it out. 100. All right, boys and girls, let me get this off the bench here so I can try not to screw up the antennas anymore. All right. So I will have to take that. I'm going to take my Dremel to that foam. Probably do that in the garage just to make sure that, because it's going to make a mess. Trying to smooth out, especially around the edge. I want to smooth out the edges of that round at least, and then I can start putting a few grooves in, maybe even where the tank tracks are going to be. Kind of sand some of that stuff down. It's very, very dense. You can't even really press it down and crush it that much. It's so dense. So it's going to take a little bit of work to looking good. Mike, thanks, Julius. I appreciate it. Didn't get a whole lot. I just finished the Zaku head as far as snapping it together this week. I didn't get a whole lot done as far as other stuff. As far as like we did tonight, cutting it up, and I basically just took the foam and cut that up and did some stuff. Did some minor stuff there, but hopefully we'll get a little more done this week as far as the embedding that thing into the base and maybe starting to visualize that. But I am going to take out a piece of graph paper and do some drawing and try to get a better idea of what, on paper anyway, what I want to look for, what I want to achieve. So anyway, boys and girls, all right, you guys know I love each and every one of you. Thank you so much for the support every time you come out here and hang out with me for these these live streams. I'm going to go up to the top here and start at the list and thank everybody that joined in the chat. Took the time to pop a comment in there. Julius was in first, like 20. He was at 5:21. So he's 40 minutes early, 39 minutes early. That's crazy. But he said he's making up for last week because he missed last week. So, and then we had Nick shortly and after that, and Giovanni right after that. And then Angel came in. Thanks, Angel. As always, Handren shortly after that, and Giovanni. And then I think that was it until Brian popped in. Yeah, Julius again. Oh, Dwayne, that's right. Dwayne came in at 6:30. Thanks again, Dwayne. I appreciate it. Appreciate your support. Let's see. Anybody else that I know of? I don't think so. Yeah, and Brian jumped in at 7:01. Thank you so much for joining in, Brian. It's always good to have you every time. So let's get down the bottom here. You guys, commenting really does help. I'm serious. It helps. It's stupid YouTube algorithm, and Facebook's just getting ridiculous as far as their video storage policies. They keep changing on me and on everybody. And now it's like after 30 days, everything gets deleted. That's 30 days old, and so you're not going to see all this stuff. So, but it will be on YouTube if you really want to go back and see everything from the beginning of this project. This is part 15. You go back to part 1 if you want to see the very beginning, and but everything you'll find on the YouTube channel. So please tell your friends and support that. I think that's the direction this is probably going to end up going. I do post a lot of photos, not as much as I used to since I started doing the videos, but most of the photos and stuff will go on Instagram and Facebook. But as far as the video stuff, I wouldn't rely on it being there because, like I said, after 30 days, it's going to be deleted. It's just stupid. I don't know why they're doing it, but anyway. Hendren, thanks again. I appreciate you. Always good catching your live stream, brother. Thank you so much. As far as everybody else too, appreciate each and every one of you. I've always said that. I try to remember to say that. Be good humans, guys, and we'll catch you next time. Next Wednesday. Yeah, don't think anything's going to change. There will be 1 week, couple weeks, maybe the first or second week in July. I think it's the first week in July. I might have to reschedule because I'll be in Portland for training again on that Wednesday. So just came to me. They just scheduled me for a class today. So I will be down there after the 4th of July weekend. So I probably will have to either reschedule or not do a show that week, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, or just maybe pick another day, maybe Thursday or something like that. I'll compete with George's late live stream. Anyway, see you guys. Peace out.